Thank you. In the 1990s, I had the pleasure and the most humbling of experiences of meeting Nelson Mandela, who told me that I was an inspiration. At that time, I was working with my wife Julie, running the sales and marketing in the UK for Protea Hotels, the largest hotel group in South Africa and Africa. And I've got so many interesting stories from that time, but one in particular, one story which stands out. A wild and scary night in Johannesburg. I flew into Johannesburg that evening, overnight, in one of those days when the monsoon storm wreaks havoc, not just on the transport system, but on the country and the people themselves. And we arrived late, too late in fact, for my connection. I was traveling up to a little place up country called Nelspruit to visit one of the hotels. And South African Airways confirmed that there were no more flights out, and the rain was torrential. However, South African Airways put on a minivan for those of us who were affected. There were half a dozen of us. I was already tired, but I took the opportunity of getting into the back seat and taking an extra few hours sleep during that time. And I was woken as we approached Nelspruit by discussion about where people were going. Now, the person sitting just in front of me was a huge African, tall, a great black, wiry beard. Frankly, he was an intimidating presence. And he said, "Where are we all going?" And I said, I'm going to Nelspruit, to the Hotel Far Hills. And he said quickly, in fact, I thought just a little bit too quickly, "I'm driving right by the door. Would you like a lift?" So of course, I had to say yes, and I was actually really pleased. But there was something that unnerved me. A few minutes later, I found myself in his car, and we were traveling on what turned out to be the main road, but was strewn with debris, and it really was a bit of another intimidating experience, the second in about 2 hours. Boy, he started talking to me and asked me what I did, so I explained to him. And then I asked him what he did. He said, "I am a baby catcher." My God, I actually feared for my life. I had a mild panic. I started to sweat. I'd got a fake Rolex on my wrist, and I quietly turned it around so that he wouldn't see it. But I was in a mild panic. I could feel him looking at me, so I plucked up courage, not before considering opening the door and jumping out. I was that terrified. I was thinking of my family, my children, of my wife. But I could feel his eyes looking straight at me. I turned to look at him, and this huge man had a huge white smile. He said, "I think you call it gynecologist." He then went on to tell me that just a few weeks previously he had been at Heathrow and he had been detained for hours in jail for having declared his occupation as baby catcher. And he was having fun with me. Well, he laughed loud. I laughed much louder. My laughter was genuine and releasing all that panic. So what an experience. You know, I never knew his name, or rather I don't remember it, but I will never ever forget his face. And you know, what was the lesson from it? The lesson was that appearances can be very deceptive. You've been a great audience. Thank you very much.
All right, nice. Okay, have a seat. All right, so let's go over